It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off, it's back on again, Gio. 40 million we're hearing now for Jhon Duran, which has been the asking price all along for Aston Villa, who have remained very stubborn, very naughty, very steadfast. They're not taking over an answer. They want their 40 million. So we understand it. West Ham have capitulated and said, yes, we're going to do it. Now, we don't know how true this is. It is speculation, but I've got to say, it was the Mail Online that broke the latest. No, it's not their story, but the latest installment of their story. They've gone pretty hard on it. They seem to be pretty sure. I'm assuming Lewis Orford is not part of the deal. We hope Lewis Orford's not part of the deal. I would imagine the club felt the backlash from the fans about Lewis Orford and quickly we'll take him out, which means there must be some kind of structure to it. What I want to know, do you think, because this is the first thing to me, is do you think the criticism over the last 24 hours, and I mean by the fact that we've probably dropped a bit of a clanger by the way we've dealt with Lewis Orford, not just in terms of including him in a deal, not getting him signed up to a new contract, and in the way that his name's gone, the bloody name's gone, the Bayern Munich right back whose name is Mazraoui, and we mucked that up, it seems. I think there's been a lot of negative press, if you want, in terms of the West Ham press, of which we were a part, no doubt about it. I think, do you think that shocked them into making the deal and raising their offer? No. Go on.
No, because that would imply they care. That would imply they listen. And do you know something? I always say this. I don't want them to listen. When it comes to transfer deals, don't listen to fans. Listen to the fans about your ticketing, your concession tickets. Listen to the fans on those things. Match the experiences. Yes, listen then. When it comes to transfer business, contract situations, no. You have people in place at the club that are experts in this field, paid a lot of money to make these decisions. Use them. That's why they're there. Use them. I don't think the club give a hoot what we think about Lewis Orford being included in the deal, Lewis Orford's contract situation. I don't think they care. And like I said, I don't think they should care. I'd like them to come to their right decision, and I like to feel positive about their decisions, but I don't want to feel like I'm influencing their decisions or any other West Ham fans influencing their decision. It's up to Tim Steidten, his scouts, Lopetegui, Martin Noble, whoever else has got an input in these transfer committee meetings. They decide in that room, and that's that. I do think there may be being not panicking into Duran. I think they've decided that this is their number one target and they're going to go get him. And it's a little bit Max Kilman to me. Remember, we bid 25 million for Max Kilman and ended up paying 40.
Right? Maybe we just have to pay 40 for everyone now. Everyone knows it. There's like everyone's got together, all the other 19 Premier League clubs. Well, basically, you get them. We're going to be paying 40 for Wan-Bissaka.
Well, maybe Wan-Bissaka's like, well, if it's 10 million for me, that means there's 30 million spare. So
signing on fee.
Yeah, I'll have a lot of money there. Thank you very much. If you could just back the lorry up with it, my garage door's open for you. But I think they're just determined to get Jhon Duran. They've decided that this is their guy. Maybe a process of elimination as well. You know, Jonathan David, 25 million for Duran. 10 million for Jonathan David. Well, 35 million for now for Jonathan David. I'd rather have the extra 5 and go get Duran. I think they've possibly sounded out other teams regarding their strikers, whether or not it has been Dobvik, Sorloth, and they've decided, nah, these ain't value for money. This guy is expensive, more than we want to pay. I just think maybe West Ham thought they could take advantage of Duran's situation and Duran's outspoken nature. And I think the fact that his agent and player have both opened their gob this week, I think is maybe a transfer tactic being deployed there to try and force Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa have seen through it a little bit. We know what you're doing, but he's been like that all season, but he's still scored goals for us while he's been liking Chelsea's social media tweets. So we're not bothered. This is nothing new to us. So I just think they've been a bit unflustered, stuck to their 40 million, and can maybe smell the desperation coming off of Steidten's scarf.
Steidten's what?
Scarf.
Right too. Actually, it doesn't matter what I thought it sounded like. It probably. Sometimes you can go too far. Do you think?
Yeah, 40 million.
Yeah. Do you think Lopetegui is pushing this one? Do you think he has seen him and identified it? You don't think he's pivotal to his system?
It's difficult to tell, and this ties in a little bit to the Lewis Orford thing. And this is where, when we hired Lopetegui, he had a small issue, which is he's on a 2-year contract. That's short term. And it's actually long term in terms of the average lifespan of a Premier League manager. If he sees out that and goes 1 year more, 3 years is more than the average. But when you're planning long term for the club, it can't just be all Lopetegui, because as the contracts sit today, in 2 years' time, he's off ski. Duran will be 22. Orford would only be 20. And I get it, Max Kilman, yep, sure, because that's a sign that's going to come in and make a big difference today. And I think Duran will as well. However, when everybody, including myself, has been excited about Duran, it's, well, he's got the ability, but it's the potential that's really attractive about Duran. And that can sometimes be an instant thing, but like Guilherme, for example, I don't think anyone's expecting to pull up too many trees next season, which I think is very fair. But I think Duran's maybe a signing with an eye to season number 2, season number 3 as well, hoping that he goes on to become this really top striker. But the chances are, when you see the best of Jhon Duran, wherever he is at this point, Lopetegui won't be the West Ham manager. Even if Duran's still at West Ham in 5 years' time, there's a damn good chance this ain't the guy picking the team. It'll be somebody else. And I just think there needs to be a balance of players for Lopetegui today, but also players for West Ham tomorrow. And I think Duran's maybe a bit of both. I think he comes into the team today, but also I think there might be games where, well, if I said to you, Max Kilman won't get dropped next season.
We just did.
But I think you would go, I can see that. I can see Kilman being a long-term.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
But if I said Duran never gets dropped, do you believe it's quick? Because I think, well, bloody hell, that's a success. Because I could see games where he comes out and Antonio goes in for a few and vice versa. And that's not a problem, by the way. I just think.
Yeah. I think it's slightly different. So I think price tag does come into it. I think there's a certain pressure at a club like West Ham. When you buy someone for 40 million, they better bloody play. I listen. There's no arguing what you're saying about the length of Lopetegui's contract, but he doesn't speak like that. It's not only does he not speak like that, everything he's been saying about not West Ham, about his next club, which we now know was West Ham. We suspected it at the time when he said, I'm staying in England, and he said to his coaches, have a break, go on holiday, come back, study the Premier League. This is the project. This is what we want to do. He's not looking at it as 2 years. I think Lopetegui's probably thinking, well, I've got a 2-year contract, but I'm going to impress you so much that I'm going to be here for longer. So I do think he probably has his eyes on a slightly longer contract than the one he's currently got. I can't claim to know enough about Duran to say whether he would be, but I think he is probably. Do you remember when we signed Antonio? And we were at Upton Park, and it's signed from Nottingham Forest. And I remember him saying, and it was either David Sullivan or it may even have been Jack Sullivan on one of our videos or something. We signed him, but he's raw. Do you remember that? He's raw. Yeah. And those are definitely the terms that was used. And I think about it now, and I looked at him, and I thought actually he looks a bit like Antonio. He looks raw. He does. It's sort of like he's a bit Antonio. He's a little bit Paolo Wanchop actually. And I do wonder how effective he'll be. But it's quite clear somebody at the club really wants him and wants him bad. And I just can't imagine it being Sullivan. That's the thing. So I mean, are you happy with the signing?
I'm split on it. In terms of the player, yes, I think I've wanted him for a while. I think he's a really good player. He's got loads of potential. And when I've seen him, listen, I haven't seen him loads because he hasn't played those, but I think I've seen 75% of his minutes at Aston Villa. Maybe I've seen a lot of him when he has played. And there's a lot to like about him. He's incredibly clinical. He strikes the ball really cleanly. I think he's quick. He's strong. His hold-up play needs a bit of work. I do think when he's been played up front on his own at Villa, he struggled a little bit. But he's only 20. That can be coached. I don't have too much concerns about it. It's just something that needs to improve, and it will with time anyway. It's just the off-field antics that makes me a little bit nervous to some extent. I feel like he's going to be a success, but I also feel like he's possibly going to be problematic, and he's also going to be incredibly ambitious. And I don't have a problem with it. I've always said I don't mind players that see West Ham as a bit of a stepping stone, because if you want to get into that Champions League clubs, well, you better bloody turn up week in, week out. And when you do go to that clubs, we're going to coin it in off the back of you. And we've done a couple of those transactions, and Mohamed Kudus is expected to go. So Duran fits in with that sort of risk versus reward, because if he does come in and start smashing it in a couple of years' time, he's worth 80 million, maybe even more than that. He's worth millions. We can look to scoop a huge profit on him. But the difference is how they handle themselves. Kudus hasn't been given all this and clicking all that on social media. And, Duran, I spoke to some Villa fans, and just, he smashed up apartment. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's the type of thing that will rub people up at the club wrong. If he goes into the Canary Wharf flats that the club own and starts trashing them, it's the type of thing that the club will just say, what are you doing? Why is costing us money, this? And then, he wouldn't follow Aston Villa on social media. He scores a goal. He follows Aston Villa. He's liking all the tweets. He's on the bench the next game. And his reaction is to unfollow Aston Villa. And it's just a bit petulant. And now I don't mind that attitude to some extent. I just hope it doesn't cause too much problem. So the player, big fan of him, really excited by him. But boy, oh boy, I think we're in for a roller coaster with this player for good and bad reasons. I think on the pitch he's going to be lively, but I think he's also going to be lively off it as well. But listen, if somebody can get a grip of this guy, every Villa fan I've seen, nearly every Villa fan, even though they want him out, they want him gone ASAP. When we talked about the 32 million plus Orford, Villa fans say, I'm having that. Bite their hands off, just take it, get him out of this club. Even though they despise him, they really want him gone, they all still say he's got the potential to be a superstar, a world-class striker. And if somebody can just get their hands on him and just get him focused and just change that behaviours, you've potentially just got like one of the best strikers in the Premier League in a few seasons' time. That's the potential here. The reward is you could get a superstar. The risk is he might be leaving West Ham next summer and we'll be lucky to get our money back. It could be anything in between. It's going to be fun to find out, though. We get this right, though. This guy's, listen, he can create a legacy. When you look at Mikel Antonio is the all-time Premier League goal scorer at West Ham. It wouldn't be difficult to beat. Right? If you're a top striker, it's not an unachievable amount, and it's not going to get much higher either. 4 or 5 seasons at West Ham, scoring consistently, staying injury-free, you break that record. There's room for a striker to come to West Ham and make history in the Premier League era, because we're still waiting, really. We've been waiting for a decade now for a new striker. This could be the guy. It might not be. We've tried a few. They've not worked out. I'm happy with this. Do you know what, though? I'd rather this guy than Soroloth.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally and utterly. And I think if it's this guy or some of the others that I mentioned, I would take this guy as well. But you know what, Gio? Yeah, totally echo that. Obviously, the naughtiness, the petulance, the that is petulance. What you described. I'm going to follow Aston Villa whilst I'm going to take. Oh, no, I'm not. That. You will grow out of that stuff. There's no doubt about that. That is.
This is where I just wish we had a strong captain. We still had a Mark Noble at the club that when he came in, he says, right, we're nipping this in the bud now. We just need strong leadership around him. Get your arm around him, because this kid could go on to become a top player. And it's whoever's in charge of him over the next few years will mould that And I just hope that West Ham's the right move for him as well, because he needs to make sure that West Ham's the right move. Don't just chase the money. Don't just chase the playing time. He needs the guidance, I think. And like you said, he can grow out of it, but I think he needs to be taught how to grow out of it sometimes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I do wonder with this guy, I don't think he'd have passed the David Moyes MOT, to be honest with you, Gio. But then again, Calvin Phillips passed the David Moyes MOT and he couldn't even play football.